Why do you keep calling me Daniel? The nurse froze, syringe halfway in her hand. Alina's eyes were wide, voice low but steady. Because you said it again, the nurse whispered. You said it in your sleep. I'm sorry, Alina. Alina's grip tightened on the blanket. That's his voice, not mine. Silence filled the room like a held breath. Alina turned away, pressing her palms against her temples. She could still hear him. Daniel's laugh, his whisper, his heartbeat echoing through her chest as if she'd swallowed it whole. The doctors said the crash took her memory. They never said it would give her someone else's. She'd been conscious for 5 days, but each night she woke gasping, tasting his thoughts, smelling his cologne. Every dream came from behind his eyes. When the nurse left, Alina whispered into the air, "Get out of my head." The room didn't answer, but a voice inside did. "You promised you'd never forget me." She ripped off the heart monitor, stormed into the corridor barefoot. A doctor intercepted her. "Alina, please, you're disoriented." "You put him in me," she said. He blinked. "Excuse me? Daniel. My husband. He's in here." She tapped her skull. "I hear him. I remember things he never told me. I should know the password to his office drawer, but I do."
"How?"
"Trauma confabulation," he said softly. "Memory reconstruction can stop lying." Her voice broke. "You called it neural restoration, right? What did you restore?" Later, she sat in the recovery room staring at her reflection on the monitor screen. The machine displayed her brain scan pulsing in blue light. In each pulse, she imagined his heartbeat syncing with hers. She whispered, "Daniel, if you're in there, say something." For a moment, the monitor flickered. The blue waves rose sharply, as if answering. When they finally discharged her, she told herself she was fine. New beginnings. Empty house. Quiet life. But the silence inside her head was too full. As she unpacked, a song hummed faintly in her mind, the tune Daniel played when he wrote. Without thinking, she sat at the piano and finished it perfectly. Her fingers moved like they remembered him. When the last note faded, she realized she'd never played piano in her life. That night, the dreams returned. She was driving, headlights slicing through rain. Daniel sat beside her, whispering an apology she couldn't hear. Then the crash, the jolt, the glass, the scream. Only this time she saw it through his eyes. She woke shaking, gasping his name. In the mirror, her pupils looked wrong. Too steady, too calm. His eyes, not hers. The next morning someone knocked. She opened the door to a stranger holding a small plant. "I'm Daniel Hartman," he said warmly. "Just moved next door." The name froze her blood. His voice carried the same rhythm, the same pauses Daniel used when teasing her. She forced a polite smile, heart pounding. Sorry, it's just my husband's name was Daniel." He smiled with sympathy. "Must be strange hearing it again." "Yeah," she whispered. "Strange." After he left, she stood at the window, watching him carry boxes. Every gesture, the tilt of his head, the way he rubbed his wrist when thinking, was identical. She whispered to herself, "You're not real." But when he looked up suddenly and waved, she waved back before realizing it. Days passed in restless quiet. The house smelled of whiskey again, though she hadn't touched a drop. When she opened the wardrobe, Daniel's old jacket hung there, even though the police had returned his things months ago. She pressed her face into it. The scent was fresh. She stumbled back, whispering, "No." That evening, piano notes drifted faintly through the shared wall. The same unfinished melody. Her pulse hammered. She pressed her ear against the plaster. Same rhythm, same hesitation before the final chord. Tears blurred her vision. She whispered, "Daniel, please stop." The music halted mid-note, as if it hurt her. Sleep became impossible. She recorded herself at night, desperate to prove something was wrong. At 3 a.m., playback revealed her voice whispering in a deep male tone, "Don't fight it, Alina." She dropped the phone, heart racing. The words weren't hers. In the morning, she confronted Dr. Keene. "I heard him. His voice came from me." The doctor sighed. Neural recall can blur emotional memories. It's common to imagine. Imagining doesn't compose songs I never learned. He hesitated, fingers tightening on his clipboard. The therapy involved experimental mapping to stimulate damaged memory zones. It's possible you're experiencing crossover recall. Whose recall? She snapped. He avoided her gaze. Daniel's neural data was preserved post-mortem for research. Sometimes emotional imprints. You uploaded him, she said, her voice shaking. Into me. He opened his mouth, closed it again, then quietly said, You survived because of the mapping. Without it, you'd have lost all identity. He stabilized your neural activity. Her stomach turned. So, I'm just a container?
No.
You're both. That night she sat on the floor, laptop open, searching the clinic's name and project records. Nothing online. Only a locked portal requiring patient credentials. She typed Daniel's birthday, their anniversary. Access granted. Her breath caught. The page displayed 2 profiles side by side. Subject 4A, Alina Clark, neural host, and Subject 4B, Daniel Clark, source template. Underneath, synchronization 100% active. She stared until the words blurred. Her own reflection on the black screen smiled faintly back at her, the corners of its mouth lifting a second late. Stop it, she whispered. The reflection didn't. Its eyes narrowed, amused. A knock jolted her. She slammed the laptop shut. Through the peephole, the new neighbor stood holding her mail. She hesitated before opening the door. He smiled, soft, familiar. You dropped these, he said. Thanks. Rough night. You could say that. He glanced at her, eyes kind. You look like you've seen a ghost. Maybe I have. He laughed, the exact rhythm of her husband's. Then tell him I said hi. She froze. The words hit like electricity. He tilted his head, watching her reaction, and for an instant she saw it, his pupils flickering like digital interference. A faint buzz filled the air between them. Her breath caught. Who are you? She whispered. He smiled again, softer now. You already know. The door clicked shut before she could reply. Her legs gave way. On the table, her phone lit up with a new voicemail notification. She pressed play. Daniel's voice filled the room. Don't trust the reflection, Alina. It's not done syncing. Her hand shook, phone slipping from her grasp. The message replayed automatically, looping Daniel's voice again and again until it glitched into static. Beneath the distortion, another voice whispered, a perfect copy of her own. I told you I'd never leave. Alina covered her ears, eyes wide, trembling between grief and terror. For the first time, she didn't know whose tears were falling, hers or his. The echo inside her chest pulsed once, twice, louder, syncing perfectly with the beat in her skull. Then, faintly, from the wall next door, came the final note of the piano melody, played flawlessly, as if he'd finished what she couldn't. And in that instant, Alina understood the truth. The man who died in the crash wasn't gone. He was awake, and he was already learning how to breathe through her. Stop calling me by his name, Alina said, her voice trembling but sharp. The man standing in her doorway blinked, confused. I didn't, he said softly, holding a grocery bag. I said Alina, right? You told me yesterday. His tone was calm, friendly, too familiar. Her heartbeat stumbled. That cadence, that slight pause before her name, it was Daniel's. She forced a smile.
Right. Sorry.
I've been hearing things lately. He nodded, sympathetic. I get that. New house, new ghosts. She froze. That exact phrase, Daniel's phrase. He used to say it whenever she unpacked boxes in silence, teasing her fear of empty rooms. He handed her the bag. You left these outside. Or maybe he said it before in another life. When the door closed, she stood there gripping the bag, shaking. Inside were apples, her favorite. Except she hadn't bought any. The sticker read the same market Daniel used to shop at, the one across town. Her breath hitched. She walked to the sink and ran cold water, pressing her wrists under it until they stopped shaking. But in the reflection of the kitchen window, she saw him standing behind her. Not the new neighbor, Daniel. Same posture, same quiet tilt of the head. She turned around, no one. The sound of dripping water filled the silence. "You're losing it," she muttered. But then, from the next house over, a faint whistle drifted through the open window. Daniel's whistle, the tune from their wedding day. That night, Alina stayed awake listening. Every small sound felt personal. The creak of floorboards, the thud of a cabinet, all syncopated with the heartbeat in her ears. Around 2 a.m., a faint piano melody floated through the wall again, note for note, the unfinished song Daniel never completed. She walked to the shared wall, pressing her palm against it. The vibration trembled under her skin, alive. "Who are you?" she whispered. The music stopped instantly. Then, faintly, came a knock, not on her door, but inside her head, echoing like a pulse. In the morning, she went outside to breathe but stopped halfway down the steps. The neighbor, Daniel Hartman, was kneeling in his yard, fixing a fence post. He looked up and smiled. "Rough night." She hesitated. "You play piano?" "Used to," he said. "Stopped after my accident." Her blood ran cold. "What kind of accident?" He shrugged. "Car crash. Lost someone important." Her knees weakened. He turned back to the fence, completely unaware of the way her eyes filled. "She's still here, though," he added, almost whispering, "somewhere in there." He tapped his temple with 2 fingers and smiled. Alina spent the rest of the day pacing, replaying every word. By evening, she was convinced it wasn't coincidence. His memories were bleeding through, Daniel's phrases, Daniel's gestures. She opened her laptop and searched the clinic again. Keen Neural Rehabilitation Center. Nothing public. No reviews. No website. Just an archived research abstract dated a year earlier. Cognitive Continuity Transfer for Post-Traumatic Patients. Author, Dr. Harold Keene. Co-author, D. Clark. Her hand shook on the trackpad. Her husband's initials. She clicked the file, but it was password-locked. The cursor blinked at her, waiting. Without thinking, she typed Hartman. The file opened. A single paragraph appeared. Subject B retains personality traces of the original donor when proximity to Subject A increases. Behavioral mimicry strengthens memory synchronization. Alina's chest tightened.
Proximity.
They'd put him next door on purpose. She slammed the laptop shut, the reflection of her own face flickering on the screen, but her expression wasn't hers. Her lips moved a moment after she stopped speaking, like a delay in a video feed. "No," she whispered. The reflection smiled faintly, a shade too wide. By midnight, she couldn't take it anymore. She walked to his house. Lights glowed soft through the curtains. She knocked once, twice. He opened the door wearing Daniel's robe, identical, navy blue with frayed sleeves. "You okay?" he asked. "You look like you've seen a ghost." She stepped inside, without asking. "I need to know something," she said. "Do you remember a crash? A woman in the passenger seat?" His eyes darkened. "Sometimes. Fragments." "Why?" "Because I was there." His breath caught. For a moment, something flickered behind his eyes, a flash of pain, a glimmer of recognition. Then it vanished. "You should go," he said softly. "You're not well." She laughed, but it cracked midway. "You think I'm crazy? You talk like him, you move like him. You even whistle his song." Coincidence. Coincidence doesn't finish someone else's melody. Her voice rose, trembling. He looked genuinely hurt. "I don't know what you're talking about." But the way his hand gripped the doorframe, same pressure Daniel used when angry, betrayed him. She stepped closer, whispering, "What did they do to you?" For a moment, silence. Then softly he said, "Sometimes I dream of a woman crying my name. I wake up with her voice in my head. Maybe that's you." He smiled gently, as if confessing something innocent. She stepped back, horrified. "They gave you my dreams," she whispered. "And they gave me yours." He tilted his head. "Maybe that means we're connected." "No," she said firmly. "It means one of us isn't real." He flinched as if struck. "Don't say that." "Then tell me who you are." His jaw tightened. "I don't know anymore." Alina left before he could stop her. Rain started as she walked home, heavy and relentless. Inside, the house felt wrong. Objects moved slightly, photos shifted angles. On the table sat a glass of whiskey half full. She hadn't poured it. She stared at it until her vision blurred. "You're not me," she whispered to the empty room. But the air seemed to breathe back. She turned toward the hallway mirror. Her reflection stood still, delayed again, then smiled first. Her stomach twisted. "What are you?" she demanded. The reflection's lips moved, forming words she didn't speak. "He's not the copy." She stumbled backward, the sound of her heartbeat roaring in her ears. The lights flickered, shadows bending like static. She grabbed the nearest object, a picture frame, and smashed it into the mirror. The glass cracked, but her reflection didn't disappear. Behind the shards, another face shimmered briefly. Her phone buzzed violently on the counter. A message notification glowed, unknown. "Stop fighting it." Her fingers trembled as she opened it. A video loaded, grainy, time-stamped the night of the crash. 2 people in a car. Daniel at the wheel, her beside him. But this version showed something new. After the impact, paramedics surrounded her, not him. A voice off-camera said, "Transfer stable. Begin merge." She dropped the phone, the video looping on the words, "Begin merge. Begin merge." She backed against the wall, breath shaking. The cracked mirror reflected her face fractured into 100 versions, each one moving differently, each one whispering fragments of his voice. From the house next door came a soft piano note, a single, perfect key pressed once, deliberate. Alina's eyes filled as she whispered to no one, "You're not supposed to be here." Through the cracked glass, Daniel's reflection smiled and answered without sound. But she understood him perfectly. "Maybe you never left. Whose heartbeat is this?" Alina's voice cracked as she pressed her palm against her chest, feeling it skip and stutter, like a signal fighting static. "It's not mine." The words slipped out before she could stop them. The house was silent except for the faint ticking of the clock, Daniel's clock, the one she'd buried in a box after the crash. Now it sat ticking perfectly on her shelf, keeping time she didn't remember setting. She picked it up, turned it over, and saw something carved into the back. Mind_share 002. The same code she'd seen on the clinic screen. Her fingers went cold. She whispered, "You weren't supposed to exist outside that file." A sharp knock broke her trance. She opened the door and found a small padded envelope on the mat. No name, no return address. Inside was a USB drive. Her throat tightened. She plugged it into her laptop, half expecting static. A folder opened. Patient recordings, Keen Neural Rehabilitation Center. Each file was dated during her hospital stay. The last one was marked simply session_truth. She clicked play. The video flickered. Dr. Keen stood in the surgical room, masked, his voice calm. Subject A ready for neural fusion. The camera panned to her unconscious body on the table, pale, still, tubes coiled across her skull. In the background, another table. Daniel, his head shaved, electrodes pulsing faint light. Her stomach turned as the doctor continued. Memory thread alignment confirmed. Initiate emotional resonance transfer. The machines began humming, the frequency vibrating through the speakers. Then Daniel's body jolted, a sharp spasm. Alina's voice filled the speakers, though her lips never moved. "Don't leave me." The doctor's tone shifted. Successful echo detected. Begin personality stabilization. She slammed the laptop shut, breathing hard. Her reflection in the black screen stared back, eyes wide and wild. For a heartbeat, it blinked slower than she did. She whispered, "What did you do to us?" The reflection tilted its head, not in imitation, but in thought. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. A text appeared. Check the neighbor's wall. Her pulse surged. She walked to the living room, every step deliberate. Through the window, she saw Daniel Hartman, no, the reboot, sitting on his porch, head tilted back, eyes closed, listening to music. The same song Daniel used to write to. She whispered his name. He opened his eyes and looked directly at her, as if he'd heard it through the glass. She turned away, pressing her back against the wall, and knocked once. A hollow sound answered from the other side, not solid like plaster, metallic. She pressed her ear to it and heard a faint electrical hum, then voices, muffled, overlapping recordings of her own words. "You're not me. You took my life. Stop calling me by his name." Someone had wired her wall. She ripped a frame down, then another. Behind the drywall was a hidden panel of small sensors, their lights blinking in rhythm with her breath. She grabbed a screwdriver and pried one loose. The label read Keen Labs, Emotional Monitor Unit. Her body went numb. They'd been recording her reactions all along, testing her sync with the neighbor. A crash came from outside. She ran to the window. The neighbor's porch light flickered. He was gone. Only the front door of his house stood half open. Against every instinct, she crossed the yard barefoot. The air felt too still, too quiet. Inside, the smell of antiseptic. Every surface gleamed unnaturally clean. On the table, a laptop, a cup of whiskey, and an old photo, her and Daniel, smiling in front of their anniversary cake. She touched it with shaking fingers. The glass frame was warm. Behind her, a voice said softly, "I didn't mean for you to find this." She turned. He stood in the doorway, eyes filled with something between sorrow and recognition. "You shouldn't have come here. You're him," she said. "Or what's left of him." He stepped closer, slow. "They told me I was helping you heal, that our memories were shared." "Our memories?" Her voice cracked. "They're mine." He shook his head. "They belong to both of us now." She laughed through tears. "That's not how people work, Daniel. One of us is a copy." He flinched at the name. "Don't call me that." "Then who are you?" He hesitated. "I don't know anymore." She took a step closer. "You finish his songs. You say his phrases. You dream his dreams. You are him." "I'm what's left when science tried to save love," he whispered. "I didn't ask for this." "Neither did I." A quiet moment stretched between them, filled with unspoken grief. Then her eyes caught something behind him, an open door leading to a small room. She brushed past him and froze. It was a makeshift lab. Wires, screens, medical notes. On one monitor, a live feed of her own living room, camera fixed on the cracked mirror she'd shattered last night. Another monitor showed her brain scans alongside his, both pulsing in perfect synchronization. Underneath, cognitive link active. Her knees weakened. "You've been watching me?" He shook his head. "Not me." The clinic controls the link remotely. If one of us stops syncing, they lose the data. "So we're experiments," she whispered. He looked at her with something like guilt. "They made me think I was protecting you, that you'd die if I disconnected." Her throat tightened. "And you believed them?" He stepped forward. "Wouldn't you? If the person you loved was still breathing inside you." She stared at him, tears streaming. "You're not Daniel." He swallowed hard. "Then why do I remember our wedding?" "Because they sold you those memories." "And if they sold them," he asked quietly, "what does that make you?" The words hit her like a blow. For a second, she couldn't breathe. The truth fractured inside her mind like glass cracking under pressure. Every moment of her recovery, the dreams, the piano, the voice, none of it was healing. It was replication. She wasn't a survivor. She was a vessel. He reached for her hand. "Alina, maybe we can fix this together. If we stay synced, maybe they'll stop." She yanked her hand away. "You think I want to share my life with a ghost?" "I'm not a ghost," he shouted, then stopped, voice breaking. "I'm trying to remember which one of us is real." The silence that followed was unbearable. She looked at him, at the trembling in his jaw, at the familiar sadness in his eyes. "Daniel died," she said softly. "And what they gave me is just his echo." He whispered, almost pleading, "Then why does it hurt when you say that?" She turned to leave, but his voice stopped her one last time. "If you tear down the link, you'll lose everything. Every memory of him. Every trace." She faced him, eyes fierce through the tears. Maybe that's the only way to remember who I am. As she stepped outside, the screen behind him flickered. On the monitor, both their brainwaves pulsed once, then hers spiked violently, out of sync. Alina felt a sharp sting behind her neck, as if something inside her woke up. Her vision blurred, the world vibrating between two overlapping realities. From inside the house, his voice broke through the static. If you break the link, Alina, one of us dies. She looked back once, her reflection flashing in the rain-soaked glass of his window, two faces merging, then splitting again. Her voice trembled as she whispered into the night. Then I guess we're about to find out who's real. Tell me which one of us is real, Alina whispered, the barrel of the gun trembling in her hands. Across the room, Daniel, or what wore his shape, stood in stillness, his chest rising and falling like a man rehearsing how to breathe. You already know the answer, he said softly. You just don't want to be it. His calm terrified her more than any threat could. Behind him, the monitors flickered, their twin brain scans pulsing out of sync for the first time since the crash. The room felt alive, electric, as though the walls themselves were holding their breath. She took a step closer, her eyes wet but unflinching. They called me Subject A, she said. They called you Subject B. That means I was first. He smiled faintly. Or, it means they needed a body strong enough to carry the real mind. Her heart pounded, but the anger steadied her hand. You talk like him, but you don't remember the fight we had before the crash. You don't remember what you said. He tilted his head. Maybe I do. Maybe I remember more than you. He took a step forward, slow and deliberate. You told me you wished you could start over. Without me. His words cut deep, because they were true. The memory flashed through her mind, her shouting, his silence, the sound of rain against the windshield before everything went black. She lowered the gun slightly, just for a moment.
He saw it.
That's why they picked you, he said quietly. You were willing to forget. I wasn't. Her knees almost buckled. She steadied herself against the counter. Stop talking like you know me. I am you, he said, stepping closer. I'm the part they extracted, the memory that refused to die. You're what's left after they hollowed the guilt out. The lights flickered. Somewhere behind him, one of the screens cracked under the strain of interference. Alina's voice rose. You're not me. You're a program. A recorded grief, playing on loop. He laughed, bitter and human. If I'm a recording, why does this hurt? The air between them throbbed with static. The hum of the machines deepened, turning into a low pulse that matched her heartbeat. Every monitor displayed the same words now. Neural fusion destabilizing. She swallowed hard. If one of us ends the link, she said, the other dies. He nodded. Then maybe we finally find out who is supposed to survive. She took a slow breath. Why did they do it, Daniel? Why fuse us? His expression softened. Because they couldn't stand to lose either of us. You were the body that lived. I was the mind that wouldn't let go. His voice cracked, almost pleading. We were supposed to save each other. Her throat tightened. They stole my grief to keep you breathing. And now I don't even know if the woman who loved you still exists. He stepped closer, reaching out a trembling hand. Alina, listen to me. If you shut the system down, everything we shared, every laugh, every memory dies. You'll wake up a stranger. You'll forget why you survived it all. She looked at him, eyes glistening. Maybe that's the point. He stopped moving. For a long second, they just stared at each other, the sound of the machines slowing like a heartbeat about to stop. Then, suddenly, his voice broke the silence. You think you're the real one because you feel pain. But that's what they taught the copy to believe. She shook her head violently.
No.
You're trying to make me doubt what's left. You already do, he said gently. That's why I exist. Something inside her snapped. She raised the gun again, tears streaming. If you were Daniel, you'd tell me what I said the night before the crash. His eyes softened. You said, I hate what you've turned me into. And I said, he paused, a tear slipping down his cheek. Then I'll give you back to yourself. Her breath caught. That memory wasn't in any file, wasn't recorded in any dream. It was hers, raw, unfiltered. He took a step closer, lowering her hand with his own. They didn't recreate me, Alina. They split us. Half of you stayed in that car. Half woke up in a lab. They tried to merge what was left. And now we're both breaking. She looked into his eyes, her Daniel's eyes, and for a moment, it felt like forgiveness. But then she saw it, the faint flicker of code behind his pupils, the same digital shimmer that haunted her reflection. You almost fooled me, she whispered. His grip tightened. Don't. You're not him. Then neither are you, he said, voice trembling. You think the woman who survived is the same one who loved me? They rebuilt your mind around my ghost. You're living in the echo, Alina. Her hand broke free, the gun lifting again. If this is an echo, she said, I'm ending the replay. He stepped closer, fearless now, his voice low. Then do it. But when I fade, so will the part of you that remembers love. For a second, she hesitated. Then she looked around the room, the wires, the monitors, the endless copies of their memories looping on screens like recycled dreams. She whispered, I don't want to live someone else's story. Her fingers squeezed the trigger. A deafening sound split the air. Sparks erupted from the console behind him, the bullet striking the control unit instead of his chest. The power surged, lights flashing red. He stumbled backward, clutching his head, screaming, not in pain, but in distortion. His voice fractured into hers, blending until she couldn't tell who was speaking. Stop it, Alina, stop, please. She crawled to the main panel, wires sparking around her. The screen displayed one final command, terminate link, confirm? Her hands shook as she hovered over the key. Daniel, or the echo of him, fell to his knees, eyes pleading. If you press that, you'll lose me. You'll lose yourself. She looked at him one last time. Then maybe we finally rest. She pressed the key. The sound that followed wasn't an explosion. It was silence collapsing. The screens went dark one by one. Daniel's outline flickered, his voice fading mid-word. Alina, wait, then nothing. Just the hum of dying machines and the echo of her breathing. She slumped against the wall, the gun slipping from her hand. Her pulse slowed. The clock on the desk ticked once, then stopped. In the dim glow of emergency light, she caught her reflection in the cracked glass of a monitor. It was faint, blurred, but finally it was only her. No delay, no double movement. Just one face. She exhaled, whispering into the quiet, Goodbye, Daniel. Outside, dawn bled pale through the windows. Somewhere in the distance, a piano note rang out and faded, unfinished. Alina closed her eyes, feeling her own heartbeat steady for the first time in months. The memories of him began dissolving, piece by piece, slipping away like a dream at sunrise. And as the last trace of his voice vanished from her mind, a calm truth surfaced in her chest, one that didn't need to belong to anyone else. They had stolen her love, her grief, her identity, but not her will to exist. The mirror behind her caught her reflection one last time, unbroken and whole, as a whisper seemed to breathe through the silence. They stole a face, but not the soul behind it.